Alright guys, how's it going? This is Wildstar. It's a sort of comedy space themed MMO type of thing. It's a game I played over a year ago when I bought the box set, and I held a subscription for a few months. Most people thought it would go free to play within the year, and it basically saw out that year and then went free to play at the end of September there. Now if you start up a new account, it looks like you've only got one character slot. What's this one? Enter the game with one of your characters and visit the in-game store to purchase up to 14 characters totals. Up to 14 total character slots. I think we need to fix that one. Anyway, if you're just going to be checking it out, you might as well just go ahead and create your single character. Now, if you've never played an MMO before, by all means click on this one. If you're new to Wildstar, by all means click on this one. Because I am a veteran, I will be clicking on this one. However, I have had a look through these. All this does is take you through the very beginner area. This is a completely noob tutorial teaching you about movement and stuff like that. I have done this so many times, I'm not going to do it again. Just be aware that this part of the game was really quite poorly done and probably cost them more subscriptions than anything else. The real sort of game proper starts once you land on Nexus. This is in the ship above Nexus. You'll be there for the first 2-3 levels, and this is when Nexus starts properly. I'm going down here. Now, you've got two factions. You've got the Exiles on the left here, and you've got the Dominion on the right. In some other games, there's a bit of confusion as to who the good guys and the bad guys are, maybe? That's not the case in Wildstar. The bad guys for sure are the Dominion. I wouldn't go as far as saying that the Exiles are the good guys, but yeah, they're sort of being whipped across a galaxy from these guys who are definitely the bad guys. That's about the best way I can describe it. There you go, the Dominion, a powerful interstellar empire, and the Exiles, composed of refugees, rebels and mercenaries from across the galaxy. So basically speaking, you've both found this planet Nexus at the same time. Let's have a look at the races. You've got the Granok, very tall. I dislike playing tall races because they look like they run slow, even though they run at the same speed. But their legs move slowly and it just makes them look like they run slow. The Mordesh are kind of big as well. I don't play them very much. You've got the normal humans and you've got the Orin. And on the Dominion side, you've got the Makari, who are like the Granok, very large. You've got the Draken, pretty cool, these ones actually. You've got the Cassian, who are the sort of opposite of the humans and look identical. And you've also got the Chua. The least said about them, the better. Right, so that's your 8 races as well. For the purpose of this one, I'm going to go with the Exiles. I generally don't play the bad guys in these games, or maybe a different faction on a different server. I'm going to go with the Orin right now, and I'm going to play a female, of course. Actually, let's do this smart. I was going to go on Orin, but let's do this smart and go the human, because the human can play all classes. Now, all classes have got a damage roll. Even the medic here, yeah. Ranged damage. Engineer is ranged damage and tank. An Esper is a healer with ranged damage. Medic, ranged damage healer. Spellslinger, ranged damage healer. Stalker's melee damage and tank. And the warrior is also melee damage and tank. You can see the difference between the warrior. Really big sword. And stalkers carry like claws and stuff. All the classes are really overpowered. That's what I used to find. Which sounds silly, but you'll know what I mean once you play it. Now I'm going to try out a Spellslinger. No, I'm not. I'm going to go for the Engineer to start with. The Engineer is probably my favourite class out of them all. Now you've also got this path ability. You can choose between Explorer, Scientist, Settler and Soldier. A lot was made out of it, but in all honesty it's just a case of running around and clicking on stuff. Settler is quite interesting. You can build like buffs out in the world, but you run around collecting settler objects. You run back to a pad on the ground and build it, yeah. Scientist, you run around with a little scanner type thing, scanning stuff. That's what you seem to do a lot with that. Explorer's all about going to the edge of maps and climbing stuff. I normally just go Soldier. You've got a thing to click on the ground. You get assassination missions to kill bigger, badder bosses, yeah. So for me, Soldier will do it. If you can't be bothered with all the rest of the stuff, just go for Soldier. Now you've got a bit of customization, but it's not a huge amount in all honesty. I always go with the lucky dice. It's very ironic. Yeah, she's not too bad. I find that there's only about 1 or 2 decent faces in the entire game though. But you've got plenty of stuff you can customise there. You can even customise actual stuff like the eye angle, which is normally one that I do. So you can actually change that a little bit. There's a bunch of other stuff there too. Right, so I'm a Exiles human engineer, who is also a soldier. 2 names, and enter the game. Right, now Alizar is the name of this continent.
Report to Commander Turret when your boots hit the ground. He'll need Arch-Chargers like you who are ready to take care of business.
Right, this Shades Eve thing, it's one of those in-game events because Halloween is obviously due at any point. I generally don't bother with stuff like that in MMOs. Up here you've got this login reward available. Why do they do this stuff? Yeah, daily login bonus. A bonus for logging in. I mean, it's like a bonus for getting out your bed in the morning. Join the celebrations in Thade and Ilium. Those are the two capital cities. I'm not going to bother with that. Now, you might think the running looks a little bit odd, kind of flighty, but you get used to it very quickly. Another thing you've got, I'm not sure if it's unique to Wildstar or not, but I don't think so now, is your double jump. Instead of just jumping once, you can actually jump in midair too, simply by pressing your jump button again. So that's pretty cool actually. The whole thing feels very smooth. They've really optimised it since release, I find. So yeah, it feels pretty smooth. The graphics are really nice. One thing though that may put you off at the start is how very cluttered the whole thing looks. Especially when you're getting towards a bunch of NPCs. It gets really cluttered looking and difficult to see a lot of stuff. You tend to find you've got an awful lot of pop-ups, people start talking, you can't read it really. Like this up here. I would say that this was probably one of the biggest failings in the game, was the interface.
Don't stand there, Exile, get rolling.
But if you can get yourself to see past it, it's actually a pretty good little game.
Get ready to throw down, soldier.
This is my soldier trainer giving me a mission.
Scram, sweetheart.
Normally, I just run around accepting everything like this.
What was Sheldon up to and where'd they go?
Now you've got stuff like these data cubes as well. You can click on these and you get some little lore thing. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, you can also read about it. Anytime you click on it, you get something you can click on to read what's been said if you can't be bothered waiting around. Right, so anyway, I've picked up a mission to blow up some Yetis. First thing I want to do though is, now this is just a fresh account, and so I think the keybinds are set up, yeah, as default. This is how slowly you turn, using A and D on the keyboard. I know a lot of people sort of turn and click, yeah. Click on your abilities. You can't do that in this game. It's just too slow, yeah, and you're going to have a massive disadvantage. I can no longer do it like that, I don't think. One of the good things about Wildstar is it is probably the perfect game for learning how to keybind, which will make you a better player. The reason it's probably the perfect game is you've got very few abilities. You've basically got this thing called the limited action set. You've got a lot of abilities, but you can only use a few at the same time, yeah? So all classes have got this, what they call the innate ability. The engineer, for example, has this eradicate mode. It's pretty cool, yeah? You do an awful lot more damage when you're in that. Because you're a tank, you've also got one that turns you into like a kind of tank mode. But generally speaking, you're going to have 4 attacks and maybe 4 utility abilities, like this zap, which is a 2.5 second stun on a 30-second cooldown. Because you've got so few abilities, you can keybind these right around your left hand. 1, 2, 3, Q, E, Z, X, C, yeah, maybe roll forward on the mouse. I'm going to keybind some stuff to something a bit more normal for myself. Right, now you can see how much easier it is turning with the mouse, yeah, and being able to shoot. Now, you can see there, from me and from the mob, they've got telegraphs. A sort of telegraph of what they're going to do. Generally speaking, you want to stay out of those, because they do an awful lot more damage. And that's another thing that's sort of unique Maybe it's no longer unique, yeah, but Wildstar was certainly one of the first to use that. So this is how they sort of make up for the loss of having a bunch of actions. Rather than having a bunch of actions to memorise, and that sort of adds your skill level, you've got dashing out the way, and you've got these telegraphs. And as you can imagine, it can get pretty hectic in PvP with all this going on. I'm just going to go ahead and complete some of these missions. Now here's one of the soldier holdouts. This is what soldiers get a lot.
They're gonna be charging in hard and fast, soldier. I'd recommend you kill them before they kill you.
Mostly the stuff in these holdouts is a little bit less damaging, less threatening, but a lot more of them.
Look out. Here comes the big dog.
Quite often ends with a big guy like this at the end. Now, if you stun them or incapacitate them while they're doing a telegraph like that, you can do more damage to them. You see that damage goes purple when that's the case. Just make sure you get out of that stuff. It's a pretty good way of doing it, you know, because all the combats feel like, you know, they've been worth fighting almost. I'm still not done with Yetis. You are a very, very powerful character. Because you do AoE and so many abilities, you can take on a lot of mobs at the same time, yeah. Just make sure you don't get caught in multiple telegraphs at the same time.
Achievement granted.
You've got all the stuff like achievements. See what I mean though about the interface getting really quite spammy at points? I think they just gave up. They realised they had too much of a monster to tame there. At various points in the game you're going to meet a bunch of characters. Guys here like Deadeye Brightland are one of the main characters in the game. You meet them pretty early on. And the graphics are really good. It does look kind of cartoony, but it's just the art style. But the graphics themselves are absolutely great. Now here's something that a scientist can use. Scientists can use some terminals like this, and it will open this door, and then behind the door there might be another one of these data cubes. You can just about see glitched through there, but unless there's a scientist you can't get through. Tells you down here. Could this be a scientist coming in? There we go. So you quite often see people calling out for a scientist to open a door.
Achievement granted.
And you can see he's a scientist because of the little bot following him. Scan bot. You've got stuff like rune crafting in the game as well. These are all things that unlock as you gain levels. So this guy's basically given me a pair of shoulders and a rune to put into them. Which incidentally is done by holding down control, then right clicking on the item, edit runes, and by clicking on this, add a rune to this slot. Whatever runes you've got in your inventory, stick into it. And that's my new shoulders with extra health in them. Now if you remember at the start I told you that settlers can build stuff. Settler stations, yeah? This is a basic travel speed station. So if I now right click on this, I've got a run speed increase of 30%, and you really notice it. Yeah. So those are the ones that most people like to build, run speed ones. Now quite often these guys can start a challenge. There we go. So now I've basically got to kill a bunch of these guys before the time runs out. You can see here what I've got to do. I've got 39% killed and I've got almost 4.5 minutes left. Again, the smart way to do it quite often would be try and grab a few mobs at a time. And I just leveled up. Here's my rewards. My new 4th slot, which is my artillery bot. Engineers are of course a pet class. Most of this stuff's pretty formulaic. Pick up crates, stuff like that, yeah. Slaughter some mobs. More challenges open up. As a soldier, it's well worth looking out for these ones because they can help you with challenges as well. This is where it gets a little bit crazy when you can slaughter what feels like millions of these little guys. And the more people that are around, the more mobs appear. I managed to forget one of the quests. I'm going to have to run all the way back. Oh yeah, I remember now. You've actually got to interact with this.
Achievement granted.
In order to change the weather for the better. There's quite a lot of these little cutscenes throughout the game. And it does actually change the game, yeah? It's no longer blowing a blizzard. So that's pretty cool. Now there's internal areas as well as external. And it's all seamless, which really does help in games like this, I find. Just for that immersion thing, yeah. There's nothing worse than loading screens for all this stuff. And Wildstar does a pretty good job at keeping it to a minimum.
Achievement granted.
Now, at the end of every zone, you've got something like this, some kind of boss. Very important to kill this one because they drop a head, which goes into your inventory and you need to right click on it to start a quest. It doesn't matter what zone you're in, there's going to be something like that, so look out for it right at the end of this beginner zone.
Report.
Now, I didn't really talk about the communicator, but you just saw it there.
You got your orders.
Sometimes you'll just get missions out in the open. They'll send you a mission via the communicator. I also didn't mention the fact that if you hover over your missions over here, you can click on it and you get a little arrow pointing to where you have to go. It's really handy. That mission to kill the mob at the end there used to give you a really good weapon. However, it's now been moved on to the normal mission chain.
Just don't get cocky out
So you don't need to kill them anymore to get the really good weapon. You're going to get it right now. Kind of makes sense in a way. Just make sure that you do all the missions in this starter zone though, because you get a really good weapon at the end of this part.
Fill me in quick.
As you can see, that is quite an upgrade. It's got 3 times more damage and support rating. After you've done your soldier quest or whatever, you'll get some kind of bag that's got something like a shield in it. Again, a massive upgrade. Once you reach certain levels of each of your ranks, you get different rewards. For the exiles. Right, That's pretty much us done in the starter zone. Gone over one or two things there that should more than get you started in the game, in all honesty. All that's left now is to take the ship to the new zone. Each map's pretty big, yeah. You can spend a good few hours just running around in this one. As you can see, the continents are pretty big. This is just one continent. They're all zones. You've got a second continent, Elysia. This is where the Dominion starts. And this is your high level stuff. You've also got Farside. It's a little moon. It's pretty cool there. There's stuff like 0G in the game, and you know, you bounce really far. Now that you're level 6, you can go and do these little encounters here. Got a content finder. Expeditions. This is the little expedition guy here. Talk to him and you go into this ship. You can do it with 1 or 2 players, maybe even more than that. These are pretty fun, these little expeditions. You can just continue to quest on, like here. And this is your quest hub. Algarok. Or you can go and do battlegrounds. You're going to get XPs for doing all this. You're going to get gear and stuff. My personal preference is to do the battlegrounds. However, just be aware that at level 6, you're the lowest level. I think it goes up to 12 or 13, the max in this level group. So obviously, you know, the more you play, the higher level you are, the more dominant you become. And you will become very dominant later on with full PvP gear. Some of the stuff you can do is just crazy. I've got 1 or 2 videos on it from when I played it before. There's no commentary in them, but there's some pretty nice PvP if you want to see how completely overpowered that you can be in the game. So that's pretty much Wildstar. I mean, there's no surprises here, really, yeah? The game just looks really nice, it's fun, you can pick it up, you can play it. There's no rush, yeah? You might not want to join a guild. Most of it is going to be soloable content. So if I were you, and you're looking for something to just pick up and play, you might just be surprised by how much fun you have in Wildstar. I'm not going to be covering a lot of it. I'll maybe play a game or 2, and if I have a really good game in PvP, something like that, I might make a video on it. Otherwise though, this has very much just been a sort of introduction to those of you who might be interested. I'll catch you later, guys.